Thanks for tuning in to Season 4 of Strange, Rare, and Peculiar Homeopathy Podcast, where homeopathy lives, breathes, and evolves with Denise Straiges and Alastair Gray. We'll be exploring modern practice, research, and philosophy, from Hahnemann's radical insights to today's breakthroughs and discoveries. Get ready for homeopathy woes, feedback from pros, and the more you knows.
All right. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. Wow.
Here
this
we
is
are.
Going well.
This is going really well.
Yep. It's podcast time. It's season 4,
It's season
episode
4.
2 time.
Yeah. The
And
reason you made that like it's going well thing is because, in full disclosure, we started recording this before, but I was texting with somebody, and I was so not present.
Do you think Rogan texts in the middle of a podcast?
Yeah.
Do you think that, the Kelsey's text in the middle of a podcast? I want you to focus. This is really...
I'm focused. Anywho, we're not here for this. We're here for the Homeopathy.
It's time for... We're in betwixt and between, because we've had a hell of a week, a hell of a Homeo week, and we've got a week of Homeo coming up.
We are always in the midst of a Homeo week.
So to reflect, we've had some challenges. I want to talk to you about what it's like, my friends, to say, right, we're off to the vineyard. And?
That's where we are right now. We are recording from Martha's Vineyard, one of our favorite places on the planet.
And in addition to that, what that's meant is that we travelled with our 56-inch screens, two of them.
Embarrassing. So, because we, this thing about being a digital nomad, everybody thinks you traveled like a phone and one of those little microphones with like a paintbrush on the end to make your voice sound good.
That's our son who writes essays on his phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not for us.
That's not for us.
No.
We're traveling with
giant screens.
It's embarrassing. I wish we didn't take a picture of my setup.
It was pretty astonishing.
As is yours.
So, and then, we arrived a week ago, and then
10 days.
I went straight into teaching a class.
Yeah.
And so I taught Berninghaus method.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, do you want me to talk about that?
Well, actually, let's do an overview, and then let's talk about what...
One of Hahnemann's great mates, they would have come into contact when Hahnemann was towards 78 years old. And Berninghaus would have been in his 40s. Berninghaus had just had his miraculous cure of tuberculosis with a dose or two of pulsatilla. And started, he found a new lease in life and purpose in life and started writing and getting involved in homeopathy and started just being amazing, generally awesome.
Can I just say that Berninghaus and and pulsatilla, it just doesn't sit right for me.
What do you mean?
Well, for a couple of reasons. If we just talk about sort of pulsatilla as a remedy for tuberculosis. Well, we've got the deep antipsychotic aspect of it, but Berninghaus? But you're quiet, just staring at me.
Oh, I don't know where you're going with it. The story, you know the story?
Yeah.
Yeah, Via, his doctor. Well, no, Via, an old friend of his.
Well, he was writing to say, I'm dying.
I'm checking out. I'm dying.
I'm dying over here. This is it. I'm done.
But I think the purpose,
the
thing that's important is that the symptoms that he relayed to this guy, who had just studied homeopathy,
the beginning of telehealth,
right? Yeah. One of the first telehealth stories, and also one of the great distance cures, I suppose. And that is those symptoms mapped out.
And he was not in a hurry, because how quickly did the mail get from one place to the other, though?
Well, that's irrelevant. That's.
Well, I don't know. I think it's really relevant, because if you get an email from a client and you don't respond within, let's say, half an hour, they're texting.
It's no different. People have always been impatient. And so, the fact that he was a taxonomist, he was a lawyer, and he was good at classifying stuff, meant he was the perfect man for the job that Hahnemann had at the time.
Right, which was make sense out of the multitudes of information
Exactly.
that are there.
So
yeah, he was actually
developed me an
perfectly
indexing
suited.
system
Yeah.
to sort this out. I've got my own. I've never shown it to anybody, and
Because you just made me think of something.
what's that?
Because you were talking about the taxonomy, and you were talking about how Berninghaus, please do excuse, Berninghaus was really the most appropriate person to do that. And then later down the road, Hahnemann referred to Sydenham, Thomas Sydenham, that was his first name, right? Sydenham, as his sort of his sweet friend, something like that. He also he wasn't a taxonomist, but he was a disease nosologist. So it seems to me that Hahnemann sort of had a penchant for those who had organizational skills. Now, why do I point this out? Because I actually really appreciate the sort of purposefulness of those who will take in hand the responsibility of organization and implementation.
I think that's fair enough. You've got to make sure that whoever is, who's the person that you're about to assign to the job has got the skills. They might not have the skills.
Yeah.
You want to find out what the skills are.
I want the skilled people.
Dude, you're a lawyer and a taxonomist. I'm going to get you on this job. Now, of course, he'd already put Rookett, Schweiert, and
Murray.
No.
No. I just made that up.
There's another one. There's another name.
Wait, Rookett, Speyer? And
two others.
There were two others. Who are you talking about?
Hahnemann had already got these four other German doctors that were interested in homeopathy to try and do the job.
The job that Berninghaus picked up.
And then he gave it to Jahr. And then he gave it to Jahr.
Also known as Jar.
No.
I'm just talking for the Americans.
Okay, for the Americans.
I'm here for the Americans. The Jar.
Jar.
Yeah. What he was looking for was someone who had a particular skill set, right? So there's the organizational skill set, the taxonomical skill set. But there's a different paradigm. And so the ways in which information is categorized is also sort of dictated by the ways that a person can perceive the larger problem. And so Berninghaus seemed to have been more well suited beyond what would have been expected by his sort of degrees and his, Well,
he did something in the process. Because what you're saying is that you've got a proving symptom and you need to chop it into bits and then put it in an index so you can find it again, right?
Well,
that's essentially the job. It's essentially an indexing process.
No, I'm saying that it is essentially, but not totally.
But what he did, because I'm not using the term correct, there's a different term, it doesn't matter. But the thing that he did was that and the thing that he also did, presumably with Hahnemann's blessing, and that is to generalize all the modalities.
Oh my God! Now you're deep in the weeds for these listeners.
We are
generalizing modalities. You're like way deep.
Right, but that's what he did, and so that if the proving symptom was another lecture I was giving this week was anacardium. If I have a headache that's better for eating, then the rubric becomes generals. Eating ameliorates.
Yeah.
Not head pain eating ameliorates.
Okay, wait.
Meaning that
go way back. You're so in the weeds for these people who are listening.
Well, they can keep up.
I don't know.
So the in the process of creating this searchable index in pre-digital times, Berninghaus is the right man for the job. He takes proving symptoms and he creates rubrics out of them.
Yeah.
And in doing so, he makes a decision about the modalities, which for him and his system become paramount. And those modalities, along with the concomitant symptoms, are those that are in a case are the ones that are to be focused on. And so a modality, I've just given you an example, but a different one is that, a digestive pain that is better for a warm compress is not really about the digestive pain. The warm compress is the critical information.
Right.
And that is generalized.
I love this. I mean, I totally love this. That's just how I perceive the ways that we can interpret the data that we have, that we use to make clinical decisions.
Kent never agreed with it. He always said, no, that's a poor choice, and for various reasons disagreed, and said, no, if the proving symptom is the head pain is because of the head pain is better for eating, then the symptom is head pain, eating ameliorates.
Okay, so I wasn't planning to go here, but I think that it's because each person who is evaluating the information is evaluating based on their presumptions.
Well,
for example, someone like Kent, who, what I was about to say doesn't make sense. It's almost the opposite. But
can I run with it for a bit?
Go, run.
So the introduction to the repertory is always the most important part.
Yes,
and those
totally agree.
That little chapter is always the part that in the electronic versions never makes it to print. If you look at Schroyen's Treasure Edition or Adonis, there's no introduction to read.
But nobody reads.
Which
nobody
describes,
reads them when it's online.
But the introduction describes exactly how that individual in this time makes these decisions and creates his product.
Can we just have a high five? Because this is a thread that I am putting into all of my lectures, including what I'm going to talk about at the AIH conference, which is hermeneutics. Hermeneutics is this idea. It's hermeneutics versus presentism. Presentism is an idea that everything is leading up to the current time that we're in being the most important and the best, as if time moves forward towards something that's always better. We're marching toward, perfection just based on, chronology. Hermeneutics says you must include everything about the time in which something had, in which the topic you're discussing, comes to pass. Therefore, you're looking at the time period, you're looking at, all the other influences, you're also looking at the perspective of the person who's introducing it. And so what you're talking about here is really important because it sort of takes into account the fact that there are all these different contributors to the information that informs how people practice homeopathy. Let's forget about the people who are practicing in the 21st century right now who aren't paying attention to anything other than some influencer told them how to take a pill to cure a sick kid, which is insane. But what we have to really do is investigate the fact that we have a medical modality that evolved over a couple of hundred years with people who came to it with lots of different inputs, and then try to make sense of it, going from basic source material and then pulling in the different people's experiences to say, those are the things that contributed and made it better, and those are the things that maybe were helpful but not amazing.
Love it.
Do you?
Totally.
Okay.
Well, that's exactly it. I mean, that's what is in Kent's introduction.
Yeah.
Right. And Berninghaus' introduction, that is what is in Schroyen's
Sorry, I left out the other thing, which is that the hermeneutics comes from the introductions to things. So
Oh, I see.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I started talking and then I totally forgot the point, which was that when you see things digitally, when you have materials that are just digitally, provided to you, you look at little bits of information, like if you're looking through one of the platforms that helps homeopaths to, make clinical decisions. But if you're not reading the introduction, the translator's notes, if you're not looking at the editor's notes, the changes from each edition, then you don't understand all of the information. That's the hermeneutics.
From the lazy way of saying the same thing for me would be that all of those authors in those different time periods, so Berninghaus 1846, Kent 1897, Schroyen's 2000 or whatever, they essentially say the same thing, which is I've done my best. But they do describe the way in which they went about it.
Right.
And I think that's the critical thing, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Give me 5.
There you go.
Actually, that is
nice.
So important.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, another one of the lecture I gave last night in challenging circumstances, because my computer
Your technology.
was
oh my gosh.
stuffed up beyond
But you fixed
belief.
it, right?
Well, I don't know. I've just downloaded a new operating software. Was on Burnett, which in a way is complementary as a method to Berningshausen. Both rely on clarity on what is the problem. And I kind of like that. And I must admit that...
I'm doubling over.
Well, are you okay there, Tiger?
I'm doubling over because I hear you and I appreciate what you're saying, and yet I have problems.
Well, your problems are because so many of the cases that come towards us have multiple problems or a lack of clarity on what the main one is.
Well, no, that's not why I'm doubling over. But go on. Sorry, because I just shorthanded because I know what you're talking about.
Well, the classic Burnett case is of a woman that has a heart problem.
Right, but she doesn't have a heart problem.
But, well, the heart, in fact, is affected
because of her liver,
giant spleen.
Or her spleen, right.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah, but Burnett was a master anatomist.
Well,
and therefore he saw every problem because he understood this functional anatomical problem. And then he utilized he utilized the medicines that were prepared in this way. They're not homeopathic because they're not used according to principles, but he deployed them in a way that makes sense.
Total sense.
I totally agree.
Yeah. I mean, he had a different interpretation of totality to Hahnemann. That has to be acknowledged. Yeah. But, and the story is, of course, that from his knowledge of anatomy and his physical examination, which we really struggle with, in these parts, because we can't really do that, nor are we skilled in that regard.
And actually, the physical examination that might be done based on the standards that he had in the 19th century and early 20th century, they wouldn't apply anyway today, because you'd be talking about not a palpation, but
that's exactly it.
And all the stuff.
You'd be getting lab results,
but
without
listening, on scans, exactly,
or doing the palpations or whatever it might be.
Which then introduces another problem, because is auscultation, which is basically listening, right? Do you get the same results from the skills that you get from auscultation and palpation, so listening and touching, and getting the sort of feedback from the body? Is it the same as you get from a scan? Is that comparison sort of bioreductionism, the scan, and something more holistic or sensorial? Does that yield a different result?
It's a great question. No idea. I mean, I'm sure that the emphasis on lab results these days has got to be winning the day over the more subjective experience of the palpation and the listening to the barrel or to see where the wine is.
But you use the term subjective, which then makes me think that once you say something is subjective, because if you think about case notes, soap notes, you have subjective, objective.
Whatever the A
having
is.
A moment.
Keep going.
But the subjective it's a term that now seems like it's not scientific, because it's open to interpretation, right?
Yeah, but I'd much rather have a healer that's been working for 40 years add their opinion as to what they might see on the lab results from their observations, and I think that's the point that's being made. Anyway, Burnett was brilliant at it, and we struggle with it, but it was the cases, they were cherry-picked cases, but Burnett died with a giant practice of incredible success with pathologies that make your jaw drop.
Well, totally, but this is the thing.
Oh my God.
Okay, I just have to say subjective, soap notes, subjective, objective, analysis, and plan. That's what soap notes stand for. Sorry, I had a moment. But I agree, because the thing with Burnett is that he came at his practice through the lens of his very particular specialty. And I would contend that those who follow in that may be able to, if the teaching comes through clearly, replicate it. But Burnett did not leave a legacy of do this, 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 and this in the same way that Hahnemann has the organon and the chronic diseases.
You've got to have clarity on what the problem is, or the seat is,
Yeah, and I know that there are people in, 20th and 21st century practice that have utilized Burnett's ideas and they've taken them forward. The problem is that...
But without the knowledge of anatomy.
Without the knowledge.
Yeah.
Because I would be really nervous, like when people say, well, we have to first, cleanse the liver. They don't know the liver from, the spleen from, I don't know, whatever.
You're talking about some of the modern excesses of folks that have latched onto Burnett and said...
Yeah, and said just do this. But they're not coming at it with the knowledge base. I would never want to think that I could do that because it's not my area of expertise. But this presents then a challenge within homeopathy because you can have, and this is something we talked about in the last, in season 4, episode 1, about how can homeopathy be everything to everyone. So you could have a person who is a Berningshausen person, you could have a Burnett person, and you could have like a Kantian, a post-Kantian sort of psycho-spiritual person, a Jungian person. You could have those people that go to the trips to the zoo that tell you about the arc of the animal kingdom or the plant kingdom. I mean, there are people who have made up any number of ways to interpret and use these medicines that may or may not have anything to do with what they do. Whereas if you go to the original people, like I feel comfortable when I look at Burnett and Burnett's cases to say that he's close enough to the source and a reliable enough investigator, right, with the knowledge of his interpretation that I go, okay, I'm going to look at these cases, I'm going to trust their validity, but I'm also going to question my own personal capacity to replicate them because of my...
I've got an example.
Experience.
Yeah, I just realised I do have an example of using, say, a Burnett style without the physical examination part. And it was a guy, thank you, who was, I think, cut a long story short. The first symptom this guy had was difficulty urine. No, it was...
Wait, is this the Berberis guy?
No, no, different guy. He was an older bloke. He was a lawyer, and he had difficulty in getting and maintaining an erection. And the challenge.
This is a family program.
And this was a challenge as his newly acquired wife.
Wanted to get pregnant.
Yeah,
we've talked about her.
In addition to that, he was not urinating well, and he'd been to his physician, and the physician said, mate, your prostate is the size of a grapefruit.
Yeah.
And it should be the size of a walnut.
Better than a pineapple, but still.
Anyway, so what we've got is a giant prostate causing a number of other problems.
Yeah.
And my decision, and I kept talking to him, and I talked to him for a good hour or two, and, I heard about his history and his homesickness, and I talked to him about the depression he experienced in the 1980s and all the rest of it, and what it was like to be a migrant in a new land.
Yeah.
But I still gave him Agnus Castus. Now what happened was his prostate responded immediately. So the first thing that happened is he had a really good piss. And the second thing that happened, and the third thing that happened was, you can imagine.
Okay, wait. I'll just interpret the gestures that there was and then there was
and then there was
a baby.
Then there was the baby.
Yeah, good.
And it was one happy customer.
Yeah.
I tell you what, he was one happy 58-year-old, 60-year-old.
Did that have anything to do with like some weird interpretation?
No, well, it meant I was clear on what the problem was.
Right.
As opposed to the Hahnemannian or the loose, maybe Kantian interpretation of what the totality of symptoms was.
Because that's not the Hahnemannian, that's the loose interpretation of the...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
you were looking at the problem. You got to solve the problem.
Solve the problem. What's the prize? It's that thing. And so, anyway, going back to your first question, that's what I've been doing all week. I've been teaching the methods and a couple of remedies, and finished off today with Hahnemann's Later Life.
You had a lot of lectures this week.
I gave more lectures than you've had hot dinners.
You had, so we have seven cohorts going. Yeah, 7.
Correct.
So we have 5 part-time and 2 full-time.
Yep.
I love it.
It's great.
And then clinic.
And the students are amazing. They are so sharp.
It's
my
so
God.
sharp.
They
And
keep
I love...
us... If there's any students listening, just keep going, because you keep us on our toes. My God.
But this is the thing, is that
Yep.
a lot of our students have come to study homeopathy with us after they've done some of the crazy stuff, or their family have been prescribed things that I just don't want to even name it, but I guess what I want to say is that the simple principles, without a lot of fluff, without a lot of, sort of guru input, it's just that there are these very succinct, very approachable, very reproducible principles that when you learn them, you can do them and people get results, and that is brilliant.
Yeah.
And that's what so tomorrow, it's actually tomorrow, we're leaving. We've been on the vineyard for...
Our adventure on the vineyard is
God,
over.
It's over. We've been here for 10 days.
It rained for 7 of them.
It didn't. It rained for maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah, it rained a lot.
I'm sad because I didn't get to ride my bike. I worked one day, was it 13 hours straight?
Yeah.
13 hours. But we went for 50 minutes. We drove to the beach and we went for a walk and came back.
We've had some great walks.
Oh my gosh, we've had a great time.
Lambert's Cove, Lucy Vincent,
Yep.
and Ed Cattell.
Yep.
2 times.
But anyway, but the thing is that even though we've had some crazy times and we've been working a lot, I don't feel like the work is. It's like not a problem.
It's kind of fine, really.
Not just kind of fine. I love it. Sometimes I wish that there were, like, if I could make the day longer so that I could get outside more and run longer or lift more weights so that as I become a geezer.
A geezer?
Yeah, so I have more bone density in my geezer years.
I have no reference point to what you just said.
The word geezer?
Well, it's a word. It's a way of talking about a bloke. A geezer is a male.
Oh.
Is a male person. No. There's a geezer. Or a geyser is an eruption of water out of a volcanic area.
It's neither of those things. It's like old person.
Really?
But anyway, it's fine. I'm just
I didn't know that.
But here we are.
And what we have coming up is the delivery of our talks.
We're going to Connecticut tomorrow to Yukon Medical, and this conference, the AIH conference. So by the time this drops, we will probably be.
We might be home. Yeah.
But this is a great conference. America is moving into its research is sexy phase. Thank you, Al, for allowing us to make those buttons that say research is sexy. You were not happy about it. I know, I get it, but you're not like a weird, like, Harvey Weinstein kind of guy. I think you're not that guy, right? So, but I think that the research is sexy phenomenon within homeopathy is like, people think, well, I don't know. I don't want to say what people think. But we need to be able to anchor in on what we do and just say, hey, research, evidence hierarchy, here we are. We're not just at the bottom level of stories, the N equals 1. I have a great idea or a great story about something that went well, but rather that we start to really give our effort to putting in just a little bit more around the edges of all of our work to say, by the way, I did this and it counts. And so when we go to the AIH conference, we're going to be presenting and talking about the ways that we can take the work that we do and get everybody involved. And so at the close of episode 2, season 3, is it season 3? Season 4. Season 4. At the close of episode 2, season 4, I want to formally invite you all to really be in conversation with us about, like, let's make the data count. We've got to really, 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 like, anchor in, lock in, and say, this homeopathy made my life better, made my health better, lowered my healthcare bills, changed my prescription use in a positive way, all those things. So that's what we're going to Connecticut to present on.
Really interesting the way you said that, actually. Because what you're saying is that we need the stories.
Yep. I love the stories.
Yeah, but we also need those stories elevated in a way and described, using conventions of science, I suppose.
Yeah, like, I don't watch a lot of TV, but every now and again when I watch a little TV, there's like the lady dancing about how her diabetes drugs make her better. And there's the person who's painting, and she's, she now from her, breast cancer drug is, doing better. We don't engage in pharmaceutical advertising in that same way. Like, there isn't the money machine behind what we do. No, but there is this incredible quiet wave of effectiveness in the work that's being done. And we want to not just honor it for sort of acknowledging the people that have been helped, but like, let's get everybody's work out there. And so our organizations, we are weirdly aligned with infrastructure. I can't believe it, because it just seems crazy. Although we all like a neat house and we like things sort of organized.
Yeah.
And we keep good notes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe that's just a part of it. But so maybe we're pathologically determinate that we're going to take all this information and like make it count and put it out there. So come along with us.
I love it.
Let's do it.
So that is...
How many minutes have we got?
In the next few days. We're at 33.
That's enough. Half an hour. That's like a record in the 80s. Like, one side of a record would be like 30 minutes, wouldn't it? Like a Partridge Family album.
Wow. Folks, you just got an insight into my life right there.
Hello world is a song that we're singing. Come on, get happy.
Is that the Partridge Family?
Yeah, a whole lot of loving is
on top of the bus?
We'll be bringing. Yeah, on the bus. Come on, get happy.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
We had a dream, we go traveling together. Yeah, all right. That's it.
See you, folks. Take care.
See ya.
Ciao.
Dreaming of becoming a homeopath, but you need a little more time to make it happen? The Academy of Homeopathy Education's part-time program gives a bit more flexibility to study. It's a 4-year journey designed to fit into your real and busy life. Learn more at ahe.online.